Hi there, it's Masaki. When it comes to anime and manga, we hear a lot of people say that they want to respect Japanese culture, so they don't want to criticize any given work for its sexist, homophobic, transphobic, or racist, or disablest content. But as someone who's from Japan and my ethnic roots, as far as I know, are entirely Japanese, so, I'm the kind of person that they want to respect, right? Like my cultures, they want to respect my cultures. But I just really don't like it when someone says they want to respect Japanese culture. That's why they don't want to say anything bad about like misogynist content of anime or manga or things like lolicon representations, stuff like that. It kind of makes sense for them to try to refrain from criticizing another culture that's different than theirs. It's not a bad thing to try to back off when it comes to social problems that exist in other cultures and societies, because it's not a nice thing to take another culture and say it's bad because it doesn't align with your values. Your culture isn't always right? So cultural relativism, it's good, but at the same time, when people say that they want to respect Japanese culture, especially when the person who's saying that is male, heterosexual, cisgender, it's often the case that they're trying to defend sexist, heterosexist, or cisgender-centric ideas that are conveyed through the anime or manga in question. And what really bugs me about that is when they say they want to respect Japanese culture, I think they're only looking at one part of the culture. Sexism exists in many cultures, and Japanese culture is one of them. And sexism, heterosexism, and cisgender-centrism, they are deeply embedded in cultures. So it kind of makes sense for them to say that, I don't want to I don't want to criticize sexism, heterosexism, cisgender-centrism that might exist in the anime that I love or the manga that I love. Kind of makes sense because you don't want to be the know-it-all, better than you kind of person. I know better. I am from the West. I know better that sexism, Japanese culture is fucked up, Japan is sexist. You don't want to say that. Of course, you don't want to say that because that's just so fucked up. So I can see why some people want to stay away from making any criticisms against sexism and stuff like that in anime and manga, but that's not respecting Japanese culture, in my opinion, because if you think that lolicon or sexist representations in anime and manga, if you think that is part of Japanese culture, well, we also have Japanese queer cultures and Japanese feminist cultures, and those are legitimate parts of Japanese culture. So what you're doing basically is take just one part of the culture and defend it and say you're respecting Japanese culture. That's not the case. You're basically disrespecting the rest of the culture that maybe in conflict with the first part of the culture. So, like, if you really care, some people say that, they are against sexism, they are against homophobia, they are against transphobia. Yet, they say that they don't want to, criticize Japanese culture. It's not their place to criticize sexism in anime and manga. But if they really were feminists or anti-sexist, I think they would be like maybe reaching out to local feminists and queers, or at least maybe doing some research on, their politics, or maybe the history of feminism, or what queers and feminists are doing in like dealing with homophobic politicians or misogynous governments. Well, like what they have been doing, what kind of accomplishments there have existed in Japan in terms of feminist and queer politics. Like, you would be interested at least in knowing about those things if you really cared about women and queers in Japan, or the portrayals of women and queers in manga and anime. So when I see you, just take part of the culture that's sexist, homophobic, or transphobic, and, defend it, justify it, and say you don't want to criticize that. You're basically taking sides with sexists and homophobes and transphobes in Japan. Maybe you're respecting the most privileged people in Japan, but you're not respecting the vast majority of Japanese population, right? Because women and queers make up the majority of the population. It's kind of a weird construction, because we say minority people, but if you take a lot of minority statuses and count every single person who has any minority status, we make up the majority of the population. So when you say you're respecting Japanese culture by defending male-centric, sexist content of anime or manga, you're basically joining them in discriminating against women and queers, if you know what I mean. So if you are one of those people who think that you don't have a say in the kind of shit that women and queers go through in Japan, well, at least you can maybe, I don't know, Google homophobia, sexism in Japan. Maybe there are a lot of people, feminists and queer activists, who are bilinguals or trilinguals. They speak English. I'm one of them. And I have a lot of friends who speak both Japanese and English who are feminists and queers. So if you're, watching this, that probably means you speak English. So, you can just talk to us. You can just ask us, what's going on. Or I saw this and what do you think? I mean, we're not native informants. Don't treat us like that, because that's taking away our resources, right? Time and energy. So we're not here for you to interview, but you can just reach out to us, and maybe if I don't like saying we or they, but if you reach out to them, if you reach out to a local feminist, local queer activist, they might respond. If they respond, good for you. You can learn from them. You can discuss things with them, maybe. And, that's... I think that's something that you would do if you really thought that sexism is bad, or homophobia, transphobia is bad. If you really think that they are bad, you will probably be already talking with local people. Just because like heterosexual men and cisgender men have the most power in Japan doesn't mean that you can like minimize the entire culture to like theirs. They are not the only people who make the culture what it is today. Like they're not the only contributors. You know, the entire culture of Japan, it's more diverse, right? And if you want to respect, if you really want to respect Japanese culture, you gotta respect the diversity of it too. Thanks for watching. I recently started posting my illustrations on my Instagram, so if you are on Instagram, check it out and follow me. And also in IGTV or Instagram TV, you can watch my music videos, or lyric videos to be more precise. So if you want to listen to my music, my queer music, some of them are in Japanese, some of them are in English. Well, one of them is in English at the moment, so yeah, check them out. And the end. Bye.